What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your early Monday morning so far. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm bringing you some New York Mets news surrounding the front office of the team, as they're going to be bringing back a familiar face who is going to be operating as a special assistant under General Manager Billy Eppler for the 2023 season and beyond. And that, of course, is I'm talking about former New York Mets player and was at one point the former New York Mets manager, and that, of course, is Carlos Beltran. Carlos Beltran is now officially returning to the New York Mets organization, as he is going to be leaving the Yes Network as an analyst for the New York Yankees this past season in 2022, and he is officially now going to be hired as a special assistant under New York Mets general manager Billy Eppler. And the 45-year-old also spent a whole lot of time with the New York Mets as a player too, where he spent pretty much from 2006 all the way, or from 2005 all the way to about 2009 with the New York Mets, where he actually put together a pretty good resume with the New York Mets team. Even though all Mets fans remember, all they do is they remember Carlos Beltran because of strike three. But at the same time, Carlos Beltran was a hell of a player for the team. In fact, he was a 5-time All Star with the New York Mets. He won 3 Gold Gloves. He won 2 Silver Sluggers over that time. And he led the New York Mets to the 2006 National League Championship Series, where unfortunately they got ousted by the eventual champions that year, the St. Louis Cardinals. But either way, Carlos Beltran is officially back now with the New York Mets organization, which is a good thing. And he's actually worked underneath Billy Eppler before when he was a free agent with the New York Yankees, and he ended up playing under Billy Eppler at the time being. So him and Eppler have actually been on the same, or have been in the same organization before, which I'm very happy about, because I think, if anything, Carlos Beltran deserves to be back with the New York Mets after what happened in 2019. And we all remember what happened in 2019. It's later 2019. He was hired as the manager of the team. But because of the whole scandal that came out about the Houston Astros, the cheating scandal, and because Carlos Beltran's name was tied into that, the New York Mets eventually pulled the plug on Carlos Beltran literally about a couple of weeks right after they hired him, and they decided to let him go, and they ended up hiring Luis Rojas, and we know how that turned out for the past couple of years. Rojas just was not ready to be a potential manager for the New York Mets at the time being. Beltran was even hired as a Hall of Famer, or was even nominated for the Hall of Fame this past season, but he only got 46.5% of the votes for the Hall of Fame overall, even though he had a tremendous overall, career with a lot of teams. He played almost 20 years with the Houston Astros. Started with the Kansas City Royals, where he was the AL Rookie of the Year back in 1999. He also played with the Mets. He played with the Texas Rangers, played with the San Francisco Giants, played with the New York Yankees, played with a whole bunch of teams during his career of almost 20 years. And put together a pretty damn good resume as well. So, Carlos Beltran, it's going to be a good player to have, good person to have back in the organization. He has a lot of knowledge, and it'd be a good spot for him to learn even more about the front office doings with the New York Mets under Billy Eppler. So I am not opposed at all to this hire. I think that he's a tremendous mind for the New York Mets to have back in the organization. You know what? It's a long time coming, because Beltran should have never been fired as the general manager, as the manager back in 2019. He should have gotten an opportunity, but we understand what happened, the whole situation that happened with the Houston Astros scandal. And Beltran, we all know how good he was as a player. Beltran was a tremendous player over his career. Absolute Hall of Fame worthy player. He played in 2,586 games over his career, where he had 9,768 at-bats, and he had 2,752 hits, along with 435 home runs. He had 1,587 RBIs with a 279 batting average, 1,582 hits. He had 312 stolen bases. He had a 350 on-base percentage, an 837 OPS, and a 486 slugging percentage. Player-wise, he was a tremendous player. Like I mentioned with the Mets, I believe he was in, and I believe over his career, Carlos Beltran was a guy that was a tremendous baseball player over his career with the teams I mentioned before, the Kansas City Royals, the Houston Astros, the New York Mets, the San Francisco Giants. He even had a stint with the St. Louis Cardinals, the Yankees, the Rangers, and the Astros. And over his career, he was a 9-time All-Star from 2004 to 2007. He was also 2009, 2011 to 2013, and 2016. He was a World Series champion back in 2017 with the Astros. He was a AL Rookie of the Year, like I mentioned, in 1999. 3-time Gold Glove winner, 2006 to 2008 with the Mets. 2-time Silver Slugger winner with the New York Mets back in 2006 and 2007. And he also was a Roberto Clemente Award winner back in 2013. I think this is a great hire by the New York Mets. Bring in a guy like Carlos Beltran. He's a great mind. Have him learn under Billy Eppler in terms of being in the front office. He worked under Eppler as a player back in 2014. He obviously worked with the Yankees and the Yes Network as a color commentator. And now he's back with the organization he should have never left back in 2019. So I think it's a good hire. Doesn't hurt. And I'm curious to see how much of a role as a special assistant he's going to have under Billy Eppler for the 2023 Major League Baseball season. And if he's going to be a guy that's going to be very influential, it's like, the Latin American players on this baseball team, like a Francisco Lindor, like a Francisco Alvarez, like a Starling Marte, Carlos Carrasco, Jose Quintana, Alex Ramirez, another one of the young players on this team, Ronnie Mauricio. So I'm curious to see what kind of influence he's going to have. Luis Guillorme, Eduardo Escobar. Like what kind of influence he's going to have on the Latin American players, especially the younger Latin American players that are coming through the Mets farm system right now, and how much he's going to help those players coming through the farm system, and what kind of influence he's going to have in the front office, if maybe he's going to be put towards the minor league teams and try to help out some of these younger players to help out the development going forward. So we'll have to wait and see. But either way, the New York Mets have officially hired Carlos Beltran as a special assistant under Billy Eppler for the 2023 Major League Baseball season and beyond. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this. Like the video if you haven't already, and sub up to NYG Jeffy T85. More news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Mets. And turn on the bell for notifications of the next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Mets. And like I mentioned, let me know in the comment section what you think about Carlos Beltran being hired as a special assistant under Billy Eppler for the 2023 Major League Baseball season. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday morning. Take it easy, and let's go New York Mets. All you got to do is you got to believe in these boys from Queens.